Alright, so I want to do a quick, a little bit of information if you guys want to add buttons to your Honda Fit. So, this is a 2009 Honda Fit manual sport. What I'm finding is when you order these buttons online, they're not necessarily going to work for you. So I ordered these buttons online. They're about $30 through eBay. For both sets, the cruise and the audio controls, to add in and add to my aftermarket stereo. When I got those, the plug it plugged into the clock spring, and I had to manually run 2 additional wires from the back of the clock spring to the radio. That did not work. Something with the pinout on those aftermarket buttons. They say they're compatible with Honda Fit and Honda Civics. Did not work. So what I ended up doing, and this information is not out on the internet that I could find, is, so these are OEM original cruise control buttons. So you're going to take your original cruise control button. Your clock spring has enough open spots to run. What you need is 2 wires, basically ground, and then these buttons. Each one of these buttons inside of here will equals an ohm resistance. So you need one that shows ohm resistance and one to measure against. That's what the stereos look for, is the different ohm resistance in order to set, and then you can program what each one does. So what I had to do was trace backwards. In the back of my clock spring, I found 2 open ports, 2 open spots, I believe pins 7 and 8 in the back of that. And then on the front side of the clock spring, take your own meter, read, find the 2 common spots. Let's see, I got a picture. Here is my diagram. So this would be the plug at the front of the clock spring. I used pins 5 and 6, and that matched up to 7 and 8 on the back. It doesn't make sense, but you can take your own meter, and you can find the common pins that go all the way through. So I used 7 and 8, and then I only had one of the radio controls that were in there, so you're going to have to dissect a connector, pull the pins out, and you'll stuff them in the back side of one of these, and then this is that plug plugs into the clock spring. So you're going to look for, I use the red and white wire and the brown wire on the actual switch, which is this, and that runs all the way through the clock spring into the back of the radio. So you can, and then once these are in, what I did is, here's my 2 wires in the back, spliced in. Test it. You can test it at this point. So when you put an ohm reader across these, you should get different values as you switch these, and it'll have a resistance with no buttons pushed, and then you should get a resistance when you press the buttons. One more piece of information that's not there is, I kept thinking I would need one of those converter kits to take that signal and convert it to something else and put into the stereo. From my understanding, most of these stereos, you program each button independently, and it can read. So I took one lead and ran it the ground, so think of it as the ground lead runs to the common ground on the radio, and then the other one on the back of this Decida stereo, there are 2, not 1, but 2 inputs for steering wheel controls. So there's, I believe they're labeled key 1 and key 2. It's not very clear what those were for, but that's what I used. So I used key 1, and I double spliced into the ground.